Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Acronis webinar for disaster recovery to Azure. Today, I'm going to go through uh, the solution and how it works and show you exactly what needs to be done when it comes to setting up your DR to Azure environment and why you may want to offer this to your clients. My name is Raymond Sue. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Acronis, been with the company for about 12 years. I specialize in cloud and disaster recovery. And today I'm going to discuss a new offering from the Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud called DR to Azure. We've offered disaster recovery to the Acronis Cloud for many years, but DR to Azure expands this capability by providing many more compute and networking options. For those of you that may not be very familiar with Acronis, Acronis has been a leader in cybersecurity and data protection for over 20 years. Our corporate headquarters are in Switzerland. We have close to 2,000 employees globally now. We've been a leader in cybersecurity and data protection for many, many years. We have over 20,000 MSP partners, as well as 750,000 business customers. And we have 54 data centers globally. So today we're going to talk about the Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud and specifically disaster recovery to Azure. When it comes to protection of your customers' endpoint devices, traditional non-integrated cybersecurity has an issue because, for one, there's a growing attack surface. You have multiple customers in remote locations. There's a mix of on-prem and cloud-based workloads. And then you also have to deal with public and private clouds. There's also security infrastructure gaps. You've got, a lot of MSPs use multiple tools when it comes to protection of endpoint devices. Most of these security or endpoint protection devices are siloed, which means that's all they really do. And also, when it comes to alerting, IT teams tend to get overwhelmed with alerts, that may or may not be, true positives. Also, when it comes to cyber threats, there's a whole new industry now when it comes to things like ransomware generators and ransomware as a service. So there are new threats being presented every day. Acronis provides the most complete cybersecurity data protection in a single solution. That's one of the big advantages to using Acronis. When it comes to everything is accessed or managed through a single console, everything is managed through a single agent, everything natively integrated, so you can have backup, endpoint protection with EDR, XDR, and MDR, as well as RMM tools, data loss prevention, and also disaster recovery. So it makes it easy to manage, and it's a single agent, single management console. It's very highly efficient. So being a single agent, there's a low impact on performance. And also your technicians only have to learn a single console, right? And it's also designed for MSPs. So there's multi-tenancy built into the solution. There's mass management for multi-tenant environments. And then it's a platform for integrating IT tools. So we integrate with over 300 other products out there. So it makes it part of an entire solution. So today we're going to talk about, like I said, it's disaster recovery, and specifically disaster recovery to Azure, which is our new offering. The Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud consists of data protection, cybersecurity, and operations. Advanced DR is going to be, the prime focus of today. We've offered disaster recovery to the Acronis Cloud for many, many years now. But with DR to Azure, that opens up a lot of additional features now, because with the disaster recovery to the Acronis Cloud, it was great for SMB type environments, but it was a little limited when it comes to connectivity as well as compute resources. And with DR to Azure, those are no longer an issue. When it comes to threats, if you think about what most people think about disasters, they think of the natural disasters, earthquakes and flooding, hurricanes and those types of things. Natural disasters are actually only about 6% of outages. When it comes to the majority of outages, they're going to be human created. Things, accidentally deleting files or overwriting files, malware attacks, and those types of things. Most of those issues are human related. When it comes to your disaster recovery architecture, with Acronis, we can protect your virtual servers, we can protect your physical servers, we can protect applications. We can provide you with what we call recovery servers. These are going to be clones of your production environment. And then we also have primary servers. These are virtual servers that are deployed in the Acronis data center to host application nodes for other scenarios where an additional host is required. This could be for an AD server in the cloud, for customers that are still using on-prem SQL. We can provide a log shipping server and those types of things. So those can be built in the Acronis Cloud or now in the Azure Cloud. We have hot and cold storage. We offer production failover. We offer testing, as well as cloud server backup. With DR to Azure, you have multiple options now for providing disaster recovery to your customers. So we still have the Acronis Cloud, and this is great for small businesses with limited IT. You have the ability to spin up machine. You can save your backups to the Acronis Cloud. You can spin them up in the Acronis data center. You have options for networking when it comes to things like OpenVPN and IPsec. We offer a hybrid cloud as well, where you can create your own DR environment within your own MSP data center. And it's still orchestrated and managed through the Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud console. So we handle all of the orchestration. And now we offer disaster recovery to Azure as well. So there's two different options when it comes to DR to Azure. We have cold DR, which is the lowest cost. You only pay for compute when the disaster occurs. And we also have warm DR, which is coming. So right now, the offering is cold DR. Warm DR will be available, I believe, late fourth quarter or early first quarter of next year. Why does DR to Azure matter, right? So the beauty of this is it's still under one solution. It's still managed within the Acronis Cyber Protect console. It allows you to serve more customers because now it expands the resource availability of DR. In the Acronis Cloud, we had 8 different configurations when it came to CPU and RAM. We had 2 different options when it came to connectivity. Now you have access to all of the different Azure configurations available to you. You have options when it comes to disk drives. All of the Azure networking environments or options are available to you for your DR as well. So it significantly expands the capabilities for disaster recovery. It allows you to sell more Azure. If you're already selling Azure, this can allow you to increase that revenue when it comes to your Azure environments for your customers. There's no extra infrastructure. Your backups can be in the Acronis Cloud. They can be in Azure. They can be in your own partner-hosted storage. So there's no limitations there. You can still have those backups saved where you need them saved. And then once again, it's a single console to manage your protection, testing, and failback. As I said, you have access to all of the custom networking within Azure. We can protect and support all of the major hypervisors as well as physical workloads. You have the ability to create custom and complex environments, as well as BOIOL support. This is the big one here. With the Acronis Cloud, for DR to Acronis Cloud, you are limited to server operating systems. With, bring your own license support in Azure, you can now fail over desktops as well as Oracle DBs without having to relicense. And what this comes down to is revenue impact. So now you can unlock new disaster recovery as a service revenue without any additional investment. And then you have predictable workload pricing as well. With the Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud, we can protect any server workload, as well as many of the virtualization platforms that are available out there. We don't support Mac. Mac is a different thing, but we do support Windows as well as Linux for disaster recovery. All right. So who needs DR? Everyone needs DR, basically. So, but mostly companies that rely on mission-critical applications and data, they're subject to regulated compliance requirements, are located in disaster-prone areas, MSPs or companies that lack technical resources. This is a very easy to manage environment, which is nice. Like I said, everything's still done from a single console. And then companies that lack DR experience, creating DR environments in the Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud is a pretty simple process. And here are some of the key industries that almost always need disaster recovery. Okay. So now I'm actually going to show you a live demo and how it works, how to set things up, and some of the advantages to using Acronis Cyber Protect Cloud with disaster recovery to Azure. So let me unshare this screen and share my demo environment. If you have any questions, please add them to the Q&A section, and we'll try to get those answered after the demo. Okay, share. Okay. All right. So this is my partner portal when it comes to testing my environment here. When it comes to disaster recovery, like I said, if you go to the documentation, you'll now see documentation here for disaster recovery to the Cyber Protect Cloud. This is the Acronis Cloud, but now there's an entire new section for disaster recovery to Microsoft Azure. So you have all of the documentation and information here that you can review. But when it comes to DR to Azure, one of the first things you're going to want to do is make sure that the offering is enabled for your customer. So if you come to your customer's configuration environment, you'll see a new line item here called DR and Direct Backup to Azure. Any new customers that you create now will have this enabled by default. But for any older customers or legacy customers, you may have to enable this line item here in order for them to use this feature. Okay. So once that's done, the next thing you need to do is configure the networking for that customer. All right. So if you go to the customer's backup console, and you go to disaster recovery, you can now create that networking between your customer's site as well and into the Azure environment. So you simply click on configure. You're going to choose the Microsoft Azure Cloud. Here you will add their Azure subscription. So this will take you to the Microsoft sign-in for their Azure account. You would sign in and register that account. And then once you do that, it would be listed here under the Azure subscription area. If you had multiple subscriptions, they would all be listed here. So you simply select your subscription. And now you would choose your target region. All of the regions available within Azure are available to you to set up your DR environment. In my case, I'm going to select Western Europe. Now you're going to create the recovery networks in Azure. So if you select the default configuration, it will create these two networks for you in Azure. One is going to be your production network as well as a test network. You also have the ability to map to a local network here as well. If you have networking configured in Azure already, you can use those existing networks if you have things set up there. So here, if I want to select one of my existing networks, I can simply select it. Same with the test network. I would simply select my test network. Once again, you can map these networks to a local network as well. In this case, I'm simply going to choose the default. Here's your summary page. This will tell you that it's going to build a DR environment on these two networks in the Western Europe region. You click configure, and it will start building out those networks in Azure. All right. Once that's done, you'll be able to create those recovery servers for Azure. So I'm going to go to my demo environment here that already has the networking configured. All right. Here, if I go to disaster recovery and look at my list of servers, oops, let me stop testing this one. I can see that I have two machines that are set up for disaster recovery. I'm actually going to delete this one and show you how to create it from scratch. So I'll remove that. Here you can see the connectivity has been established. So I have my networking environment in the Western Europe region. Here's my production network as well as my test network. I have the ability to add additional networks after the fact as well, so I can do that. One of the best features about DR to Azure is now you have the ability to add any of the additional networking resources within Azure to your environment. Right? So now, if you need an Azure firewall, you can add that to your DR. You can utilize network security groups. You can create custom DNS servers for your environment. You can purchase public IPs. You have access to Azure Bastion for remote access into your VMs as well. You can create an Azure site-to-site VPN from your different sites to the Azure cloud. And then you can also create an Azure Express route for dedicated private connectivity between your data center and Azure. All right, so that way that can increase your throughput and speed as well. Let's see if this is finished shutting down yet. All right. I need to wait for this to shut down. I apologize. It looks like I thought I had shut this down prior to that. But here, if I go to my Azure environment, I can see my two devices here. For creating that recovery server, it's still shutting down. Okay. Let's go back here to DR. You have your DR specific widgets here in the DR dashboard, so this can give you a quick view of your environment. Let's go here. This is my demo environment. It looks like somebody may have activated this machine. So let me just shut this down and delete it so I can show you how to build it from scratch. Okay. Oh, going back here. Some of the highlights of disaster recovery to Azure is you have the initial DR site configuration, and that's what I showed you just now. You have automated test failover with AI-powered screen verification. You have orchestrated failover using our automated runbooks. You have automated failback to both physical and virtual machines with near zero downtime. Once you have runbooks to automate the key disaster recovery scenarios. On-demand workers, or what we call temporary agents. This is a big feature because you don't have to have appliances running in Azure all the time. These on-demand workers are created on demand. At the time of activation when it comes to those recovery servers. So it uses fewer Azure resources because you don't need any permanent virtual appliances. And then once again, we have two different options for DR. You have cold DR, where backups are stored in storage, but no compute resources are running until a disaster occurs. And then we will have warm DR coming, where backups are incrementally replicated to the Azure Warm Storage. And in case of disaster, they're ready to run as an Azure virtual machine. Warm DR provides near zero RTO. Okay. All right, so now we're in standby. I'm going to delete this and recreate it for you and show you how that works. All right. All right, so going back to my Azure environment, I simply select my machine. I click disaster recovery. I'm presented with my create recovery server button. If you're familiar with disaster recovery to the Acronis Cloud, this looks very similar, but with the DR to Acronis Cloud, you only had 8 different configurations that you could choose from. With DR to Azure, you have access to all of the different VM offerings that are available to you in Azure. So you can choose the specific resources that you want. So in this case, I'm going to select this machine with 4 virtual CPU and 8 gigs of RAM. You also have options for hard drive. So you have a standard hard drive with locally redundant storage. You have a standard SSD with locally redundant storage. And then you also have premium SSD with local redundant storage. So you can choose the specific disk that you need for and what performance you need for that particular machine. You can rename this machine if you want. The default name is going to be whatever the server name is, -recovery. When it comes to networking, this is going to choose the production network and the test network that you created here, and then it selects a default IP for you based on the last octet of the machine. You have the ability to change that if that doesn't work for you. You can do that as well. When it comes to the automated test failover, that's also available with DR to Azure. So when you enable this, what we will do is automatically once a month, we'll go in and spin up the most current snapshot for that particular device. We bring it up to the point where it comes up to the login screen. We take a screenshot of it, and then we shut the machine back down. So now when you look at your list of recovery points, you'll be able to see some that were tested and see if it was successful or not. Okay. So now when I click on the create button, I have a recovery server being built for me in the cloud. And when I go back to disaster recovery and look at my list of servers, I see this one has been created. Since I enabled the automated test failover, when you first create the recovery server, it's going to start that automatic test failover for the first time. Then after that, it would be on a monthly basis. So here I can see that it's spinning up, it's creating it in my environment, and it probably will take about 5 or 10 minutes for this to come up to a ready state where I can log into it. This machine here is in testing failover. So just like with Acronis DR to Acronis Cloud, you have the ability to remote into this machine. It's a little different with this solution because this will take you to the Azure portal, where then this will allow you to RDP into that machine as well. Okay. So those are the primary differences between disaster recovery to the Acronis Cloud and disaster recovery to Azure. Like I said, you have much more in the way of options when it comes to resources as well as networking. Okay. So going back to my presentation. All right. When it comes to Acronis Disaster Recovery, there we have a couple of awards here as far when it comes to data protection, as well as there's and when it comes to performance, there's a couple of third-party awards here that from Canalys, as well as software reviews. And you can see the leadership score here. And now we'll go to the QA. So let me see if there are any questions here in the QA. Looks like we have one. It's just a couple here. Is DR for Azure a similar product to the legacy DR from Acronis? Will the legacy DR continue to work with no further configuration? Yes. So this is like I said, this is an additional offering. DR to Acronis is an excellent solution for the SMB market. If you need additional capabilities, DR to Azure is definitely the way to go. You have much more options when it comes to compute and memory resources, as well as disk resources, as well as networking. So if those are important, then those are definitely the way. DR to Azure is definitely the way to go. How about failover on Mac OS? Like I said earlier, unfortunately, Mac OS is different. We don't offer DR to Mac. Can I work with one VM on site and a second one in the cloud? Yes, the advantage to having that VPN tunnel is you have connectivity to that remote site. With an IPsec tunnel, basically the DR environment would just appear as another remote site to you. Typically, DNS handles that communication over the VPN tunnel. If you have an application that's calling out a server by IP, you may have to make those changes in that configuration in order to point to the correct IP, though. So that's one of the biggest differences. All right. Can you send us the presentation, please? Yes. So, in fact, this webinar is being recorded, so it's going to be available to you after the webinar is completed. Okay. So we have a poll, and let me go and bring this up. And if you could answer one of the 4 questions, that would help us when it comes to you know, providing you with any additional information as well. All right. All right. Also, if you scan this QR code, um, we do have a limited offer right now where we can provide you with advanced disaster recovery free for 6 months. So this is a great deal. It allows you to go in and test this for several, for your customers and see how it works out for you. So if you're interested, please scan the QR code. If you can't get it while this is up, like I said, the recording will be provided to you, so you can access it at that point as well. And just a quick note, our Acronis True Security Summit in Spain is coming up in October. If you're interested in joining, we would love to have you here. So once again, scan this QR code and you can register for this to join us for the True Security Summit coming up in October in a couple months. Okay, and then I don't know how many of you are taking advantage of our Acronis education portal, but we have an MSP Academy where we can provide you with all different types of trainings for your sales as well as your technical staff. We have certification lines where they can receive those credentials, Acronis credentials, that they can present on their email signatures and those types of things. So all those are all available to partners through our MSP Academy. So that is our webinar today for disaster recovery to Azure. I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed it. But thank you very much again for joining, and have a good day. All right. Bye-bye.